Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Ghosts and Spirits video. I thought I would mix this one in here while I'm continuing to do your aliens and UFO suggestions. This one not really a random suggestion, but rather one that was given a while back. I had stored it there just in the back of my mind, had stored a website associated with good details on it, and I thought to myself, today would be a good chance to share it here, especially since we're coming up on Halloween. This has to do with an actual location rather than, let's say, some actual hauntings, but there's still plenty of hauntings associated with this cemetery that I'll talk about more here in a minute. And on top of that, it's known as a gateway to hell. And on top of that, why not? It's apparently a place that the devil himself visits twice a year. So lots of interesting stuff to share here. Definitely something that I would want to visit sometime in the future. Some of you that are local, let me know below if you've had a chance to come to this area. But it's known as Stull Cemetery. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating info associated with this landmark location, something that is just rife with so many interesting hauntings. And then I'll get my own thoughts and opinions on it afterward. So what is Stull Cemetery? Well, from the outside looking in, it's apparently nothing. Like people would pass by it probably every day without thinking twice about it, if but for the fact that, again, it's apparently a gateway to hell. It's a really small, almost forgotten cemetery located near there in Kansas, located near a town called Stull, hence the name associated with the cemetery, Stull Cemetery. It's a tiny cemetery too. I don't have the exact count as to how many bodies are buried there, but again, it's something that you would almost blink and miss if you pass by it, let's say on a daily basis. But there, located at that location, you'll have both these long placed cemetery plots and most prominently an abandoned church. This is a church that looks very dilapidated, as you're seeing here. It has most of its foundations, most of its walls basically gone. They've crumbled down who knows how far long ago, and the rest of the walls are probably not far off too, but as of now, they still stay there. Again, looking very nonchalant. You wouldn't think twice about it, but it remains one of the most haunted locations on this earth itself. Here's just but a little bit of a sample associated with what people have stated. Now, the stories tied to this cemetery go back more than 100 years, but the earliest known printings associated with these stories happened around 1970. But again, that just means that it's articles that are finally talking about these hauntings. But as far as actual encounters that people have had, it's been there for well over 100 years. But yeah, these are some of the strange occurrences. By far, the most prominent one was that tease I gave earlier as far as the devil. Apparently, this is one of the few locations on earth where the devil himself makes his appearance, not just once, but twice a year. And you can apparently time it too. You can go there at a very specific time, a date, two of them, in other words, per year, and you'll have a chance of seeing him there. Number one is on Halloween. So if you go there on Halloween, which is again coming up as of the time period of this video in just a couple of days, that's where he'll make his appearance. And if you go there on spring equinox, which is March 20th of every year, that's the second time that he'll make his appearance too. The word is the reason why he makes these specific spots, like the specific location for his appearances, is because there's a lot of spirits that died around there that died very violent deaths. It makes it seem like they were either killed someplace else and then buried there, or in some cases, like there was a story involving a mayor that was killed outright at the church itself. Then that's why there's a lot of negative emotions, a bad juju, and so on. And that's something that he apparently favors. So he goes there and then he spends who knows how long during those 2 days, but it's supposed to be a very, very frightful experience. You'll also know that he's there too, because another reason is there's a witch that's apparently buried there as well within the cemetery. It's apparently a witch that was working with him for quite some time. So again, if you go to those specific dates, that's when you may meet the man in black himself. And then other type of encounters are this. There's apparently very strong gusts of winds that occur out of nowhere. Weird ones too. On one purported instance, it was the fact that the person's vehicle, after this strong gust of wind came out of nowhere, caused the person to leave that location. They were there obviously to try to see what evidence was there. That strong gust of wind was evidence right from the get-go. It caused them to run back to their car only to realize that the vehicle was now on the other side of the road and it was facing towards them, almost menacingly, if you will. And then in other situations, there's this. Apparently, there's arms, like phantom arms, that tend to grab people too. Apparently, it just happens out of the blue. No one knows exactly where these kind of secondhand stories come from, but people state that yes, there's something there that likes to grab people. Maybe tied to the fact that that location was tied to black magic as well, along with the aforementioned witch that I was mentioning earlier, like as far as the witchcraft that this witch was doing. So might be her hands there, or might be someone else's hands as well, but they're there, and you'll have a good chance of having that happen. And the church itself is not away from any of these hauntings. In fact, that strong gust of wind that I was mentioning earlier has been known to happen inside the church too. And eerily enough, if it's raining outside and the church, again, the entire roof is gone, if you go inside that church, apparently it's going to be bone dry. It's like the rain itself is avoiding the church too. Like it's so dark, like it's so evil within the church that the rain will not come into the actual church. And so kind of creepy stuff when you think about it. Other situations are this as well. There seems to be associations with hauntings, like shadow people that are there too. There also seems to be other encounters as far as ghostly apparitions that come about as well. I didn't really see much information like people truly being harmed, but at least with regards to those type of encounters, they definitely would make a very frightful encounter. One, though, that seems unexplained but still is also frightful in of itself. People that visit the church or the cemetery too purport memory loss. It's almost like they went there for a specific reason, maybe again to try to gather evidence or there's some type of encounter, but all of a sudden when they're leaving, they think to themselves that there's nothing there in terms of memory. It's like it's gone. It's like the past whatever number of minutes or hours they were there is no longer within their mind. And so that's kind of freaking when the more you think about it, because you wonder just what the hell happened, like what occurred that caused that memory to be gone. And at the same time, what was occurring that is now gone in of itself. I mean, it's pretty scary stuff with regards to that. And then also there's this kind of a little twist, but a lot of the residents, there's just a few, only a handful there within that location, that city called Stull. They state that no, all of the above is false. There's apparently a lot of articles that like embellishing things, that like stating that they heard so-and-so say things and so on. But the residents themselves state that no, it's just a plain old cemetery. There really is nothing. In fact, it's almost like they find it amusing that people to this day still come to that location, try to see if there's any kind of evidence. Maybe a lot of them leave, not like basically with wishes unfulfilled, like there's no evidence, nothing else that really stands out other than just a plain old church and a plain old cemetery. And so to them, they just think that it's all made up stories, strange stories that somehow came up out of the blue, and then people just ran with it, and then all of a sudden, poof, there's an urban legend associated with Stull Cemetery and everyone that still comes to this very day. But it happens, the legends are there, the people still believe in it, so much so that there's still large crowds that come there to this day, especially on Halloween night. I'd love to hear too if there's something along those lines sometime soon. In fact, there was a gathering back in the 80s where more than 500 people showed up. Wow. So this year, at least in 2022, it'd be interesting to see if people still go there to this day. And again, anyone local, as I was mentioning earlier, if anyone has any more info on that, then please post those comments. I'd love to hear what your own thoughts are, not just of the fact of going there just during those 2 dates, again, where the devil makes its appearance, but anytime altogether. If there truly is something that haunts that location, so much so that it's a gateway to hell, so much so that it has so much lore associated with it, or if it's all false, if there really is nothing there, let me know. There seems to be like 2 very distinct differences between the 2. But let me know, everyone. Post those comments below. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.